Well, hello scrappers, Mike here. Welcome back to my channel. Now at the end of the last video on what I'm calling Ken's bonus gold, I left us with a head scratching conundrum of what to do with this stuff. This is the metal that got mixed in with the ashes of Ken's rags and filters during the incineration process. Part of it's from the pot of mine that melted through, and some of it's metal that was already mixed in. I don't know where it came from. So I processed just the loose powder out of this bucket and got some gold. So there's obviously some gold in here. It's cemented out on the metal in this bucket. So how am I going to get this gold? Well, I don't want to waste a lot of nitric acid dissolving all this metal, but that would probably be the best way to go. So instead of using expensive nitric acid, what I'm thinking about doing here is just making some poor man's nitric and letting this sit here for a few weeks, a month, however long it takes, until all that metal's digested. And then we'll collect the undigested stuff and process that for gold. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So we're going to start by putting some water in here. And I'm not using tap water because I don't want any chlorine to be in here, because I don't want any of the gold to go into solution. I would use distilled water, but distilled water is very hard to find right now. For some reason there's a shortage. But this deionized purified water that I get at Publix is a really great substitute for distilled water. There doesn't seem to be any chlorine in it. I can work with silver nitrate with this stuff and not have any of the silver precipitate out. So that tells me right there, there's no chlorine in it. So I'm going to put some water in here. Going to cover up all that metal. And put in a little bit more than is necessary just to cover up the metal, because I want enough water in there for the metal salts that we're going to be producing, the nitric salts, to have enough water to dissolve in. And next we need some sort of nitrate to make poor man's nitric acid. And you can use potassium nitrate if you have it. I happen to have some sodium nitrate here. I'm going to use this. This has been sitting around for a couple years. It's gotten all chunky and hard because it's damp. I've busted it up a little bit. But since this has gone damp on me, it's not useful for a lot of the stuff I want to do. So we'll put a good amount of this stuff in here. Oh, it's got some big lumps. So that should be plenty. Yeah, I'm not measuring. Yes, sue me. I'm not measuring. So now we've got some sodium nitrate in there. Now we're going to put in some sulfuric acid drain opener. Okay. Oh yeah. Look at that. We got an immediate reaction. Oh yeah. So that sulfuric acid is going to convert some of that sodium nitrate I put in there into nitric acid. And that nitric acid is going to start attacking all that cement copper on all that steel in there. It's also going to start attacking the steel. And if we just let this sit for a while, I mean, it might take days, it might take weeks, although it's Florida, it's getting warm. Let's put a lid on it loosely, because it's going to involve a lot of gas. And set it somewhere out of the way. Ooh, that's warm. Wow, that got warm. We'll come back and we'll look at it again in a little while, maybe a few days or a week, and see how it's going. We might need to dump off the first batch of liquid and hit it with a second batch. But that's okay, I got plenty more sodium nitrate, and I got plenty more sulfuric acid where that came from. And we'll just keep this up until that metal in there is all digested, and we've got a bunch of precious metal powder in the bottom of the bucket. Okay? So that's how I propose to get the rest of Ken's bonus gold. And we'll see how it goes. It's only been a few minutes, just long enough for me to put away the sulfuric acid and the sodium nitrate. But check this out. See that orange fumes coming out of there? Yeah, we're evolving a lot of nitrogen dioxide. I'm going to take this stuff off my bench and I'm going to put it around the side of the building over by where I keep my waste bucket, just so I don't have to breathe the fumes as they slowly diffuse out through the loose lid. Okay? And then we'll see what we've got in a week or so. Well, it hasn't been quite a week yet, but I'm eager to see what's going on in this bucket. I set it at this tilt last night so that hopefully any solids will settle out down in this bottom corner. Ooh, there's a little bit of orange fumage in there. Get rid of that. Fortunately, I am standing upwind. Yeah, I want any solids to settle out. And then I will gently decant off this liquid. Oh, I see a lot of black powder down on the bottom of the bucket. I don't know if that's showing up. Oh yeah. See there. See that? Black stuff in there. Now it's dark in there, but yeah. And unfortunately, there's a fair amount of black stuff suspended in this liquid too. But I will let the liquid in this beaker settle and gently pour it off and return the black powder to the bucket. Or at least, well, you know, it'd be better just set it aside for processing later rather than returning it to the bucket. Okay. Let's see what we've got in here. That's some of the stainless steel from the pot. But it's a lot cleaner than it was. All the cement copper's gone from it. Yeah, I don't know what that is, but it's hard as a rock. I guess it's just maybe a big chunk of cemented metal that's cemented out on this metal in here, and it's well, the acid bath's definitely doing something. I mean, these bits of stainless steel, I didn't really expect them to dissolve, but they are a lot cleaner. A lot of the other metal has been dissolved off of them, for sure. And then this liquid is very blue, although it's all turbid now with black powder. But it was very blue. So we dissolved a lot of copper. I think I'm going to give it another treatment. Just like before. Get all the black powder off my hands, because some of that's probably gold. So just like before, gonna put some purified water in here. I actually saw some distilled water in Publix the other day, so maybe the distilled water shortage is on the way out. I hope so. Although the purified water, the deionized purified water from Publix seems to work pretty darn well. Yeah, since this last treatment worked so well, it looks like we've dissolved a lot of copper. We've got a lot more black powder in here, which may or may not be precious metal. We'll find out. I'm going to do the same thing again. In with a goodly amount of sodium nitrate. And then some sulfuric acid. Definitely wear gloves handling the sulfuric acid. And again, we get an immediate reaction. Some bubbling. Not as furious as last time, but we've probably dissolved a lot of the more reactive metal out of here already. But we're going to let this go. I will put this out in a sunny spot where the sun can warm it up and keep the reaction going. Solar heating helps a lot with a lot of these types of reactions. So let me put it out in the sun. We'll wait for this to settle and see what we've got in there. So this liquid has been sitting here for 3 days now. 3 days. And it is still very dark and turbid in there. If I take it out into the sun and I look at it, I can see, you know, the top few millimeters are relatively clear. I can see it's a brilliant blue color. But it's really, really full of suspended particles further down. And they're just not settling after 3 days. I can see the way this is probably going to have to go. I'm probably going to have to filter this stuff to get those particles out, because those particles are what I'm going to want to process for gold and precious metals. I did test this liquid off camera for the presence of silver, and of course there was none, not the slightest trace. Somehow Ken has managed to keep silver out of this stuff. He did tell me that he has quite a few pounds of some sort of gray sludge that he suspects is the silver sitting at home yet. So somehow he managed to keep the silver out of this and collect it as a gray sludge. I'm not too clear on exactly how he processed this stuff, but well, that might explain where the silver is. It's still at home with him. Anyway, like I say, it's been 3 days, so we'll give the stuff in the bucket a couple more days at least to process. I peeked in it this morning and it was still full of orange fumes. I gave it a good shake and a stir, and some bubbling ensued, so clearly there's still a reaction going on in that bucket. So we'll let that go for now, and we'll be back in a few days. Alright, it's been close to another week. Couple of things. First off, this is still turbid. This is not settling. I don't think it's going to settle. Maybe over the course of geologic time it might, but clearly the fine particles suspended in here are not going to settle on their own anytime soon. I will have to filter them out of this liquid because I suspect those fine particles may contain gold. Maybe some colloidal gold, possibly. And like I say, it's been about another week, and well, I'm getting a little impatient with this process. I knew poor man's nitric wouldn't be the fastest way to do this, but I was expecting it go a little faster because when I started this, it was hot out here. It was like stupid hot. It was like high summer, even though it's still spring when I'm filming this. And I figured the heat would help a lot, but then we had a late season cold front come through. The temperatures dropped. It's been chilly, and I think with the chill in the air, this process has really slowed down to almost nothing in here. Yeah, get rid of a little bit of orange fumage in there. And I'm going to dump off this liquid again, add it to this. And I think it's time to try and accelerate this process. Although, you know what? Looking in here, I'll give you a look at what I'm seeing in here. I'm not even worried about the black powder coming over at the moment. I hope you can see in there. It's kind of dark in there. So, yeah, there has been some progress. Okay. It's looking better than I thought. I think what I'm going to do, though, is I'll pull the bits of stainless steel out. I'll wash the... Well, it's not all coming off, though. There's still some dark powder clinging to it. I was just going to pull the stainless steel out of here, but I guess we'll just process everything. So I'm going to put everything that's in this bucket still in a beaker. We'll put it in the fume hood. We'll put it on some heat. And we will hit it with some more poor man's nitric. Now, and see if we can just accelerate this process a little bit, because I want to finish this project. You know, Ken and I were talking, emailing back and forth the other day, and we're both a little surprised at the low yield in gold so far. I mean, certainly I am. I know some of you out there are surprised in the low amount of gold I've got out of his filters. Well, it might be right here. This might be why we haven't got a whole lot of gold out of his filters. I don't know. It might have all cemented out on this scrap metal here. And this black stuff that's pouring into the beaker might just contain a lot of gold. Possible. So, I'm kind of in a rush to recover it because I got to go out of town for a while, and I'd like to finish this project before I go. Put it to bed finally. So, gonna get all this stuff in this beaker here, and we'll make some more poor man's nitric, but we're gonna make it over a hot plate and hopefully accelerate this process by a few 100%, or hopefully 1,000% would be nice. And then we will treat this black powder that remains and see if we can get any gold out of it. See if we can find the gold. Alright, there we go. I'll get that in the fume hood in a second. Oh, I said that Ken and I were talking via email the other day. One thing he wanted me to pass on to you folks, because a lot of you have asked questions in the comments about where does Ken get his chemicals, because they're a lot harder to find up in Canada than here in the States. And he said that he gets his potassium nitrate from a farm supply store. They sell it there apparently, I guess for stump removal and other things. And he gets his SMB from a winemaker supply store. I guess SMB is used in winemaking. I didn't know. I'm not a wino, as far as I know. Anyway, I wanted to pass that along because some of you have asked where Ken gets his chemicals. Those of you living up in the Great White North and following along on this project and wanting to know how Ken did it and how you can do it, well, there you go. Farm supply store, winemaker supply store. All right, let's get this in the fume hood and get this show on the road. Okay, so just like before, got some water in there, but I'm going to add some more. Again, purified water because distilled water is hard to find at the moment. But this Publix brand purified water, it's deionized, and there apparently is no chloride in it. That's something I've tested extensively. This will not precipitate silver chloride out of a silver nitrate solution, and it doesn't seem to cause gold to go into solution either. There doesn't seem to be any chloride there, so that's a plus. And believe it or not, it's cheaper than distilled water, if you can even find it. Alright, so we're going to put some sodium nitrate in, just like before. And just like before, I'm just going to put a cowboy it here. I'm not even going to measure anything. Just going to throw some right in there. We'll call that enough. We'll start the fume hood before I put the next ingredient in, because we might get an immediate reaction. So here we go with some sulfuric acid, concentrated sulfuric acid drain cleaner. Okay. Yeah, got some immediate bubbling, so we're probably releasing some nitrogen dioxide there. So we put some heat to it. This is, I think, has been the missing ingredient for the last week or so. It's been unseasonably cool. So I don't think a whole lot went on in that bucket for the last week. But we're going to accelerate things with some heat now and see what happens. Alright. Oh yeah, there's some good bubbling going on. So with some heat and some good agitation, we'll see if we can get the rest of that base metal in there digested. And we should probably be left over with some, probably have some stainless steel left over. I don't think that's going to go into solution. And we'll probably have some non-metallic stuff. I know there's some bits of fire brick from my furnace in there. And hopefully we'll just have a whole lot of black powder. And hopefully that black powder contains gold. In the meantime, while we're waiting on that to happen, I'm going to get set up to filter this stuff. I want to capture all the black stuff in that liquid and whatever's settled to the bottom on a filter. And when we process this stuff, we'll have it all together then. Because I don't want to lose any of the gold. Potential gold. I know there's some in here. My small scale test showed that. Don't know how much though. Hopefully a lot. Okay, so let me get set up for filtration. Okay, let's get this stuff filtered. I will hold on to the filter, and I will add it, and whatever black sludgy particles we filter out of this stuff, I will add it in when we process the stuff in the fume hood. Now, when I was talking to Ken the other night, you know, one of the mysteries is where all the silver went. Because I have not found the first trace of silver in his rags and filters. And that's very unusual, because silver contaminates almost everything I do. I have to refine my gold a few times to make sure it's silver-free. But Ken has somehow managed to sequester all of his silver away somewhere. He says that he likely precipitated it out as silver chloride at one point. He also said something interesting, which kind of dovetails with what we're doing here with this stuff in the bucket. He says that he cemented out a lot of the copper on aluminum because he thought it was a cool reaction. And I'm wondering if maybe he cemented out more than just copper. Because I thought I only cemented out copper on this scrap metal in the bucket. But it turns out more than just copper cemented out on that scrap metal. We also had gold cement out. So I'm wondering if maybe some of that cement material that he's got has gold in it. He's threatening to send it to me to process, so I suppose we might find out sometime in the future whether some of his gold wound up in that, and if there's silver in it. So stay tuned for future developments there. As you can see, this is slowing down dramatically, so the fine particles suspended in this liquid are clogging the filter. This is going to be one of these all-afternoon filtrations. I can see that already. Oh well. I'll work on something else in the background while this is happening. Hey, speaking of working in the background, look at that. I mean, this has only had a chance to warm up a little bit. Look at the reaction we're getting. Very, very cool. Okay. So we should be putting some more metal in solution. Some more base metal, copper, iron, whatever else is hanging out in there. Should be going into solution and liberating any gold that's cemented out in there too. Leaving it behind as fine black powder. Alright. So I think we're finally making some progress here. I want to get this thing done. Alright, we'll just keep an eye on it. And we'll keep an eye on this. Alright, yeah, we are cooking good now. This has come up to temperature pretty good. Look at that. I think we've accelerated this process by a couple thousand% anyway. We'll get that base metal in there chewed up and just leave the gold and whatever other precious metals might be in there behind. So cool, this is going. I'm just going to let this run probably the rest of the afternoon, just like this filtration's going to take, and maybe shut it down and see what we got tomorrow. But I'm liking what I'm seeing there. This is actually working. Okay, while this is going gangbusters over here, this has all but ground to a halt. I mean, we're getting one drop every what? 5 to 10 seconds? Yeah, whatever that particulate stuff in there is, it is completely clogged up my filter. I'm gonna have to rethink how to filter this stuff. Maybe I am gonna have to let it sit and see if it'll settle over a long period of time, because this isn't working. This isn't gonna be an all-afternoon filtration or even an all-night filtration. This is gonna take days or weeks. And well, I don't have the time for that. And you know what? I'm just making more of that fine black powder over here in this beaker. Yeah, we got a great gangbusters reaction going on, but I'm just making more of that stuff that's going to clog my filters. So, ooh, it's always one unforeseen problem after another with this project, isn't it? Holy cow. Well, I'm going to let this keep going and then think about how I can filter this stuff better. Or I might just have to let it sit for weeks and weeks and carefully siphon or decant the clear liquid off the top. Wish I had a centrifuge. Of course, I don't know if that would work. Hard to say. Anyway, that's where we're at. This is cooking. And this is creeping. Ay, 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 ay. Yeah, this filtration just ain't happening. I even checked for vacuum leaks. Nah, got a pretty good vacuum in there. That filter's just hard plugged up. So, I don't know what I'm going to do. I got all this to filter. And all that I'm creating in there. This is going to require a bit of a rethink, I think. So I poured most of the liquid out of the Buckner funnel back into this beaker just because filtration was not happening. And there's a look at the black stuff that was suspended in the liquid that's clogged this filter up solid to where it just is not pulling much of anything through. I don't know. I mean, this stuff doesn't settle either. It stays in the liquid column. I suppose I could wait till tomorrow and try again. Maybe the worst of it will settle to the bottom and I can get a lot of the liquid through. I don't know. I just got to take the rest of the evening just to dry this filter out at the rate it's going. This is crazy. Absolutely crazy. Alright, so it's the next day. I turned this off before I shut down for the night yesterday, and the reaction, of course, stopped. Come out here, turn the heat back on, and look, we're going gangbusters again. I've not had to put any more sodium nitrate or sulfuric acid in there. It's still going. It's like the Energizer Bunny, it's still going. Now over here, I had a brainwave late last night. Thought about it. The liquid, which is, well, it's back there in that back beaker. You really can't see it. That's the stuff I was trying to filter yesterday and was clogging my filters really bad, okay? And as I was emptying out what made it into the filter funnel, I realized this stuff is really dense. I mean, there were only a few hundred milliliters of liquid in there, but it was really dense stuff. And yeah, it's full of metal salts and a lot of acid went into it. So yeah, it was really dense liquid. And I thought, well, maybe that high density is what's preventing the solids from settling really quickly. So what I did was, I put about 500 milliliters of that liquid in this beaker, and I added another 500 milliliters of water to it. And just let it sit overnight. And look how much it's cleared up. I even stirred it really thoroughly to make sure it was all stirred up and turbid before I went in for the night. And look how much it's cleared up. So I think this level of clarity would allow me, yeah, I know I've created twice as much liquid that needs to be filtered now, and it's still going to clog my filters, right? But I think with this level of clarity, I can siphon off the bulk of the liquid and just filter the last little bit at the bottom. And I think that's going to help tremendously with the filtration. I mean, the liquid is a waste product, okay? As long as I get most of the solids out of the liquid, it's the solids I want. So as long as I can get most of the solids to settle, I could siphon off the bulk of this liquid and throw it away without, worrying about losing too much gold. But at least, hopefully, the little dregs that are left in the bottom, I will be able to filter in a reasonable period of time. So that's my new plan. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag that other beaker out that's back there, and I'm going to dilute it with an equal amount of water and let it sit for a day or two. Hopefully then I can siphon off the bulk of the liquid and leave the solids behind too. Okay, and we're just going to let this cook, continue to cook, until it don't cook no more. Okay, it's early afternoon and I started this stuff up again earlier this morning. So it looks like we've got more boiling than actual reaction going on in here. There's still a little bit of orange fumage in there, but actually the inside of the beaker is quite dirty, so that could be giving a false impression of just how much of a reaction is going on. I think it's more boiling. And this stuff here is actually continuing to clear up the last few hours. And I diluted the big beaker in the back with about an equal amount of water, so I'm hoping that it will start clearing up similarly maybe in the next 24 hours or so. That would be nice. Then I could probably siphon both of these off and just combine whatever black stuff's in them into one beaker. So I'm going to let this go for a little while longer, then turn off the heat and probably decant off this liquid, and we'll see what's left in the bottom. See if it needs another poor man's nitric treatment, or if we're pretty much got all of the base metal dissolved and all of that cement black powder liberated. So we'll see. I think it is still producing a little bit of orange fumage in there still, so we'll just let it cook a while longer. Well, it's a little while later. I've washed down the inside of the beaker with a spritz of distilled water, and really it doesn't look like we're getting much in the way of fumage at all anymore. So I'm going to turn the heat off, let it cool down, and we'll decant off this liquid and get a look at what's left in the bottom of the beaker. Alright, this has had a chance to cool down. Wow, that is one dirty beaker. Let's see what's in the bottom of this. I'll pour this into my tall form beaker here, which hopefully will help promote settling, especially if I dilute it like I've done the others. Tall and skinny, I'm thinking. Be better to get this stuff to settle out. Wow. That looks like something that needs to be checked for gold. There's just a lot of powder in here. Still got this stainless steel. I didn't think it would dissolve. This seems to be like a chunk of fiberglass here. Yeah, this is from a Gold Corner BGA, like the bottom of a Gold Corner BGA. That was completely covered with cement copper. Now it seems to be pretty free of it. I see another piece of stainless steel down here. Yeah. I'm going to take the stainless steel out. It doesn't seem to be getting any cleaner. Some of that on there might be char rather than cement. And it looks like and here's some bits of yeah, that's bits of brick from my foundry, what that is. Not sure what some of this stuff is. Alright. More stainless steel? No? No, it's not. That might be. Yeah, I think that's stainless steel. Oh, that's glass. Ken, how did glass get in your filters? Well, I suppose glassware breaks. It happens. Certainly I've broken enough glassware over the years. Where's that stainless steel? I don't know where it went. There it is. Let me get that out of there. I don't really want to have any undissolved base metal in here if I take this to Aqua Regia, because if there's undissolved base metal, the gold will tend to cement back out on it, which we don't want. That's more glass. There's a lot of glass in there. I'm going to wind up cut if I'm not careful probing around in here. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to give this one more acid treatment, because it looks like, really, like we've got pretty much all the metal out of here, or at least in the form of a fine powder. Another piece of brick from my furnace there. But I just want to be sure. So we're going to give it one more acid treatment with, poor man's nitric, since it's working so well. And then I think we'll take this stuff to Aqua Regia and see what happens. And hopefully by then I will have my 3 beakers full of crud here settled enough that I can siphon off the bulk of the liquid and add the solids in when we go to Aqua Regia. So let me get this back in the fume hood and we will give it another treatment. One more time. Yeah, it's certainly looking like what's left in there is mostly a slightly reddish gray powder, which leads me to believe there might be some gold in there. So once again, we'll hit it with some purified water, in with some sodium nitrate. Again, I'm not even going to bother measuring, just going to drop some in. There's a lot less material in there, so we probably don't need as much. At least less material that hasn't been converted into this reddish brown powder. Gee, I hope there's some gold in that. I mean, my small scale test had gold in it, so hopefully, let me get the fume hood going, put the heat on, and we'll hit it with some acid. Concentrated sulfuric acid drain opener. Whoops. Splatters. Okay, we'll let this heat up and see what happens. Now, got an immediate reaction before, even when it was cold, but there's really not much going on now. It might be done, but we'll let it cook for a while just in case. I want to make sure it's done. I want this project to be done. Well, this has had a chance to warm up some, and really the reaction is underwhelming. I would say we're probably pretty close to done with this. I'm going to let it cook the rest of the afternoon and see what we got tomorrow. Maybe we'll be ready to move on. I'm hoping so. And this is, I don't know how well it's showing up on the video, but this is really clearing. So yeah, diluting this stuff really helps it settle a lot. So, good. I think I figured out a way forward. We'll see if there's any gold in here yet. Ken, we'll get the rest of your gold if it's in here. Okay. So, probably see you tomorrow. And see what we got. Alrighty. It is the next day. So I let this cook until early evening. Turned the heat off. Diluted it with a whole lot of purified water. And it is sat overnight, and I don't know how well it's showing up on the video, but it is starting to clear. The inside of the beaker is very dirty from all that boiling, so, but it is starting to clear. This stuff here, which is the first stuff I diluted, has cleared nicely. And there is a layer of dark stuff at the bottom of the beaker. So I think I can siphon this one off. This one in the back, which was the second one I diluted, that's looking pretty good too. I think I could siphon the bulk of the liquid off of that. Now this one over here contains the previous batch of liquid I took out of here. So this hasn't had quite as long to settle, even though I did dilute it. But it is clearing. As you can see, it's starting to clear. And I think some of this stuff is actually just stuck on the inside of the beaker. But I think what I'm going to do today is I'm going to siphon off the bulk of the liquid on these two beakers, and I'm going to let these just sit for a little while longer, maybe another day, and see how it's going before I siphon the liquid off of them. And then we should be able to combine all of the black powder from each of these beakers into one and process it with Aqua Regia and see how much gold we get. So that's the plan. So I'm going to get set up to siphon these off. And I think I'll just let these sit quietly without disturbing them for the next day or so. And then I will siphon them down. Okay, let's get started siphoning this stuff. So I've been giving this a lot of thought. Well, I've had plenty of time to wait on it to settle to think about it. So I'm starting to think that there's probably more than just colloidal precious metals in this stuff. I'm thinking we probably also got some colloidal metal sulfides in suspension, probably from the treatment with the sulfuric acid. So I'm thinking that's part of what we're dealing with here. And not, I mean, there could very well be a lot of colloidal gold in this. I don't know. We'll find out soon enough whether there's any gold in it or not. I mean, my small scale test showed there was some, but I just having a hard time believing all of this colloidal stuff is gold. I'm thinking we've got some metal sulfides in here, which is not, you know, unheard of with the stuff I do. So anyway, I'm going to siphon this one down, and I'll speed this up so you don't have to watch the whole thing, and I'll give you a look at what's in the bottom of the beaker. And I think I forgot to mention up front that I am just siphoning this liquid off into a random 2.5 gallon bucket I have. This is not my temporary stock pot. This is just a random 2.5 gallon bucket. And I will leave this liquid in this bucket for quite a while. And we'll see if any other fine stuff settles out. I'll decide what to do with it if something does. Okay, there's our first beaker. I'll give you a look at what's on the bottom of this. I have to say, it does kind of look like gold. So here's what's in the bottom of this beaker. Of course, it's out of focus. Let's see if I can get a better focus on it here. I mean, it looks like gold powder. It's kind of got the color. There's probably some gold in there. Okay, let me get to siphoning the other bigger beaker. Okay, there's a lot of liquid in this big beaker. So this is going to take a while with this small hose. I'm using the small hose just so that I don't get too much turbulence going on in here. I mean, I could get a much bigger hose and suck it out quicker, but I'm afraid the turbulence will get this stuff stirred up, and I'll wind up sucking it into this bucket, which I don't want to do. So I won't make you watch the siphoning of this. We'll be back when I'm done and take a look at what's in the bottom of the beaker. So here's the material in the big beaker. So it's got some lumps of something in it and a few dead bugs floating in it because it's been laying around for a couple days, and I mistakenly left the light on in the fume hood all night, so it attracted a lot of bugs. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash this stuff into this beaker here. And I'm considering, you know, we got to wait another couple of days at least before we can do the other two beakers, including the main one with the most material in it. But maybe we can get a kind of a sneak preview of what we're dealing with if I was to put this all in this smaller beaker here and hit it with some Aqua Regia and see what we get out of it. I mean, that's better than just sitting around twiddling my thumbs waiting. So I think I'll do that. So I'm going to wash this into this little beaker, and we'll go into the fume hood, and we'll see what we can get out of this stuff that we've got so far. Yeah, I think this is a good idea. While we're waiting on these to continue to settle, we'll process this. In fact, not only will we process this, I've got this filter that came from my disastrous effort at filtering this stuff. We'll throw it in there and we'll process it too, okay? Let me get the fume hood going. Get some muriatic acid in there. And then we'll get some nitric acid in there. make us some Aqua Regia. So that's a little over 2 milliliters right there. I'm going to put a bit more in. There's about another 1.5. So we're right about 3.5 milliliters right there. We'll see how that does. We put some heat to it, get it warming up. Okay. And we shall see what develops. Well, this has had a few minutes to heat up, and we're starting to get a pretty good reaction. In fact, I'm going to turn the heat down, so I don't want it to boil over on me. That filter material in there is holding bubbles underneath it, and as it disintegrates, it'll make the liquid thicker and tend to trap bubbles. So, but yeah, we got quite a reaction going. So something's dissolving in that Aqua Regia we made. Hopefully gold. We'll just let it go and see what happens. Yeah, it's been a few more minutes. Even with the heat turned down, we've got quite a vigorous reaction going there. The paper's all fallen to pulp. So I'm just going to let this go until the reaction stops. Don't see any more orange fumes or any more bubbling. And then we'll give it a stannous chloride test and see what, if anything, we've got in solution there. Alright, this stuff's been cooking for quite a while. My last addition of nitric acid really didn't produce much of a response. Let's get a little bit of this liquid and do a stannous chloride test on it. Need a couple of drops at the most here. That's all we need. Let's come over here. Have a look. Zoom in here so hopefully you can see whatever results we get. Okay, some very fresh stannous chloride solution here. Well, that's interesting. It's not a very strong indication of gold, but we do have some gold in there. But I'll tell you what, it's the purple of gold with a hint of orange in the background. We might have like some platinum group metals in there. I don't know. Not very much gold, but you know what? We didn't really process that much material. I mean, this was some fine stuff that took forever to settle in those beakers. So, you know, mass-wise, I don't think there was very much stuff there. And a lot of it may not have been gold because gold's heavy. The gold, hopefully, will be hiding out in these two beakers back here, which are settling. And maybe by tomorrow, we'll be able to siphon them off. And, yeah, maybe by tomorrow or the next day, be able to siphon them down and process all the stuff on the bottom of them. I'm going to turn the heat off on this, and I'm just going to let this stuff sit. It definitely has some gold in it, maybe some other precious metals. And I'm just going to let it sit here. And when we process what's in those other two beakers, I'll add this to it. And we'll drop it all together. So, yeah, there's something there. Like I say, not the strongest indication of gold I've ever seen, but there's something there. So, okay. And hopefully there's a lot more in those two beakers. Because, well, I know that one over there has a huge amount of black powder in the bottom of it. And this one over here, I think, probably has quite a bit more than we processed today. So, hopefully, that's getting darker by the moment. So maybe there's more gold in there than I thought. Just sort of a delayed reaction? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Okay. So I'm just going to wait for those to settle and then treat them the same way I treated this. So we'll combine them all together and see what we can drop out of it. Okay, it is the next morning and going to siphon off the last two beakers here. This one has quite the layer of reddish brown stuff in the bottom of it. And of course the other beaker, still in the fume hood, it's the one that has the bulk of the material in the bottom of it. So I'm gonna get to siphoning these, just like I did the others, the smaller ones. And we'll be back when I'm done. We'll make you watch it, and we'll take a look at what's in the bottom of the beakers, okay? Okay, so here's our last two beakers full of reddish brown goo. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the contents of this beaker into this beaker, the really dirty one that I did all the boiling in, because I'm thinking that the Aqua Regia will clean it up nicely, as well as dissolving any precious metals in there. So I'll put this one in there, and then we'll head into the fume hood. Alright, now that I've got the contents of both of the big beakers combined into this one, I'm going to dump the contents of this beaker in too. Because, well, number one, this has whatever precious metals we dissolved out before. And number two, I think it's probably got some excess nitric acid in it, because my last addition of nitric acid really didn't do much. So we won't waste it. And this way we'll have all of our precious metals together in one place. Okay. Now I'm going to add, well, after I get the fume hood going, I'm going to add some more. Am I already seeing bubbling in there? I think I'm already seeing bubbling. I'm going to add some more hydrochloric acid. Just because, well, that had been boiled a lot and it was diluted with some water just now, so I want to strengthen it up some. Let's put it on, and we'll hit it with some nitric and some heat. The heat going. And I'm going to put in a fair amount of nitric acid here. There's about 2.5. Another 2.5. Well, that's close to 3 milliliters. We'll start with that and see what happens. I think there was some excess nitric in the fluid I put in there already, so we will leave it at that for now. I can always add more, and we'll see what kind of reaction we get as this warms up. I've been thinking we're going to get a reaction. Alright, it's been like 1 minute. This is still stone cold, and we're getting some pretty good bubbling going on in there. So yeah, I think that once this warms up, we're going to have a pretty decent reaction. I'll have to keep an eye on the heat. I may need to turn it down. I don't want it to boil over, because getting this amount of bubbling while it's still cold, I think when it heats up, it's going to take off. Okay, this has had a few minutes to start warming up. Now we're getting quite the reaction going. Nice orange fumage going. I'm just going to keep a close eye on it while I'm working on other stuff in the background, make sure the reaction doesn't get out of control. I'm going to let it go until the reaction stops. I may try adding some more nitric to it just to make sure we get everything in solution. And then when it looks like we don't get much more reaction from adding nitric, we'll give it a stannous chloride test and see how it looks. Okay, I just put another shot of nitric acid in here, and I've got another reaction going. I mean, it's not as strong as the first time around, but we still got a pretty strong reaction, so we're not done yet. But I'm eager to see whether we're getting any gold in solution, because that last test I did with the other two beakers, it was a little underwhelming. That was not a strong indication of gold, and I'm just kind of wondering if I'm standing here wasting my time in chemicals, or if we're actually going to get any gold out of this stuff. So I think we're going to do another stannous chloride test and check it, even though it is not done cooking yet. We'll just get a little bit of this, and we'll come over here and we'll test it. It's very turbid and dark. It's got a lot of suspended solids in it, but I think we should be able to see whether we got any gold or not. Let me get you a little closer, and we'll give it a test here. See what we got. A little more light on the subject would be good too. It's already kind of dark from the turbidity, but see what happens here. Oh yeah. Oh, look at that. Okay. Dark purple to black. Okay. That is a much better indication of gold. Alright, I'm liking that. I'm not wasting my time. Ken, I think we found some more of your gold. Hopefully this is it, buddy. Okay, good news. So I'm going to let this continue to cook. Maybe add a couple more shots of acid to it until I don't see any real reaction. And then we'll move on to trying to get the gold out of this. Okay. Whew. I was a little worried. I've been wasting my time for these last few days, but I think we're on the gold. I think we are on the gold. Alright, I'm going to turn the heat off on this. And I've got saturated solution of sulfamic acid here. Going to denox it. It may be a little overnoxed. Very possibly. Let's see. Oh yes, I would say there's a bit of an excess of nitric acid in there. That's okay, this will take care of it. Doing double duty of diluting the stuff too, so that's good. Well, I'm going to have to filter it. Hopefully, whatever that stuff was that was preventing filtration is not there anymore. I'm hoping. Okay. Okay, there's not a lot of room left in there to get ice in. So, I'm just going to let this cool down and then filter it as is. And then I'll have less liquid to filter that way too. And then we'll see about dropping gold out. Alright, this stuff has sat overnight. It's nice and cool. And it looks like it has settled some, although it's pretty opaque. Hopefully it will filter good. And we can drop the gold out of this liquid. Now there's a scum of something floating on top, but it does not look like gold. When I first came out here this morning and looked at it, I'm like, oh crap, the gold's starting to come out of solution on its own, which it does sometimes, occasionally. It's happened to me 3-4 times over the years, but no, that doesn't look like gold. That's something else. It just doesn't have the look of gold. So, let's get this stuff filtered and drop the last final bit of Ken's gold out of solution. And then we will finally know the total. Yeah, it's filtering pretty good. Hopefully it doesn't slow down to a crawl. I'll get all the liquid through first and then dump whatever solids are in the bottom of the beaker. I can't really see, it's too opaque what kind of solids are in there. But I'll dump them in last and then rinse the pregnant solution out of them with some distilled water. But yeah, this is actually going at a reasonable speed. Good. Something's going right for a change. Yay! Maybe I can actually finish this project today. Finally. Well, the initial rapid filtration has kind of slowed way down. If it gets much slower, what I might do is just change out the filter and start over so that I can get this done in a reasonable amount of time, because it looks like we're headed for really slow filtration again. I mean, at the moment it's still moving. So while we're waiting on this painfully slow filtration to finish, we can contemplate how I'm going to drop the gold once it is filtered. So a question came up in a recent video about why don't I use copperas over here to drop my gold initially if I'm worried about platinum group metal contaminations, because the copperas will only drop the gold and not the platinum group metals. Whereas if I use SMB in the bone-eat stump out like I normally do, it drops everything. Gold and platinum group metals. Well, normally there's not enough platinum group metals in there for me to worry about. This time, though, I'm not so sure. You know, back when we did that test on the more dilute solution, it was looking like there might be some platinum in this stuff. Probably not enough to bother trying to go after. I'll just dump it in my stock pot and get it someday. But, you know, it might be a significant amount that can contaminate the gold. Now, normally I would remove a small amount of platinum group metals in later refinings, but since we have a fair amount, it looks like this time around, I think I will use copperas. Now, the reason I don't do it all the time, which was the question, is because I never know how much of this stuff to use if I don't know how much gold is in here. And you would say, oh, just use more if your stannous chloride test shows there's more gold in it. Yeah. But I mean, this stuff, I can just spoon it in. Okay? This stuff, I got to dissolve it in hot water and filter it, which is a pain in the butt. So, what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to assume there's a stupid amount of gold in this stuff. Okay, more than I'm sure is there. There's probably not more, on the high end of a gram or two, okay? That's the most I'm expecting. So, maybe I will mix up enough copperas to drop, like, say, 6 grams of gold, okay? And then that probably triple what we got in here at the most optimistic. So, I do about 6 grams of copperas per gram of gold. So, if I want to do enough to drop 6 grams, that means I got to get 36 grams of copperas here. So, we'll do that. I don't know if you can see that. There's reflections. But anyway, I'll measure out 36 grams of copperas. And I'll get this dissolving in some warm water. And then I'm going to have to filter this stuff, because it's got a lot of junk in it, before I use it to drop the gold. Let's see, where are we? 34, almost there. 30, a little over, that's fine. There's really no penalty for using extra copperas, except, you know, a little extra expense, but this stuff's pretty darn cheap. Also known as iron sulfate. So, okay, so let me get this dissolving in some warm water. And once this stuff over here is done filtering, I'm going to have to filter the copperas through. Okay, I think this water is warm enough. So where do I get my number of 6 grams per gram of gold for dropping gold out of solution with copperas? Well, initially it came from C.M. Hoke's book. And if you don't have her book, you need to get that. There'll be a link in the video description to where you can get it. It's been described as the Metal Refining Bible. Okay? But I've made some adjustments based on my own experience. I've actually upped the amount she recommends by about 20%. And that comes out to, you know, a little under 6 grams per gram of gold. But, you know, a nice round number, 6 grams, easy to remember. Anyway, she was working with much better reagents than I am. I'm using horticultural copperas here, which is full of crud, which I need to filter out, which is one reason I'm adding an extra 20%. Another reason is this is not green. So her copperas would make a nice green solution. Need to acidify this to make it green. So we're going to add a little bit of muriatic acid to it. Just enough to turn it a nice green color. Doesn't take a whole lot. That's probably enough once I stir it up. Oh yeah, look at it go green. Oh yeah. So this will drop gold out of solution like nobody's business, right here. But first, I'm going to have to filter it to get the crud out. Okay, while we're waiting on this other stuff to vacuum filter, I'm just going to gravity filter this copperas solution. It's cooled down enough I don't have to worry about the filter paper turning to mush. That's a problem you can have if you try to filter hot solutions. So we'll get this filtered. And it will be ready to go when the other filtration is finally done. Okay, we're in the home stretch. I got the solids in here. Just got to get this last little bit of liquid through and wash the pregnant solution out of the filter and the solids here. Right on top there. Nice piece of pink glass. Where'd the pink glass come from, Ken? And that's not the only piece of glass I've seen in here. There's also some jagged, sharp ceramic in here. I'm like, there's a piece. I guess I'm pretty lucky I haven't got cut dealing with this stuff. So, anyway, almost there. Almost done. We're dropping the gold shortly. Okay, we are ready to drop the gold. It's too bad this stuff is so opaque, because I don't know that we're going to see really much of a reaction, but we should get some gold accumulating. Down on the bottom of the beaker. Wash this out. One thing I do like about coppers is there are no noxious fumes associated with it, unlike with the SMB. So it just quietly drops the gold. So we'll just leave that for a little while and see what happens. Okay, well, it's been a while. I went in, had some lunch, did some other stuff, putted around my workshop. This is so dark, such a thick dark green. I can't honestly say whether I see whether anything's come out of solution or not. I'd say we got a little bit of gold floating on top, so I'll take that as a good sign. Let me knock it down with a spritz of distilled water so it can sink to the bottom. But whether we got all the gold out of solution or not, I don't know. I suppose we need to do another stannous chloride test on this stuff and see what it looks like. See if it looks like there's any gold left in there. Or if we got it all out. Because I can't see the bottom of that beaker. I can't tell if there's any gold down there or not. I would say that's a negative. Negatory. If there's any gold left in solution, it's not enough to worry about. Okay. So there must be some gold on the bottom of the beaker because it's not in solution anymore, even though I can't see it. So I guess what I need to do is siphon off the liquid until we can see the bottom and see what we got. So let me get set up for that, and we shall do it. Wow, it's really difficult to tell how much of any gold we've got in there. This stuff's so dark, but I do believe there's a layer of something there on the bottom of the beaker. So let me siphon this liquid off, and we'll get a look at it. Yeah, I know this video is getting long, so I won't make you watch too much of this siphoning. Just get started on it, and then I'll show you the results once we get her done. Get her done! Well, there's the gold. Hard to tell how much is there, but it sure does look pretty good. I always like the way gold looks when it comes out of copperous solution. So let me get this into a smaller beaker and start giving it some cleanup boils. And then we can dry it out and weigh it. Well, there's the gold. Giving it some boils. It's on its second distilled water cleanup boil. I'll give it one more boil and dry it out, and we'll weigh it and see what we got. Okay, so here we go. Here's the gold. It looks like a fair amount. Yeah, I mean, normally after you dry the gold out, it doesn't look like so much, but this still looks like we've got a fair amount of gold in here. So let me get it broken loose from the bottom of the beaker, and we'll weigh it up and see what we've got here. This looks like a significant amount of gold. I think we figured out where a lot of the gold was hiding, Ken. Because we both thought the numbers were awfully low. Okay. Let's see what we've got here. Holy cow, yeah. Another 2.36 grams, and there's some fine stuff stuck on inside of the beaker here. That's not going to move the scale any, but that was a significant amount of gold hiding out in that bucket. Okay, so we had 3.23 grams up to this point. Now we're up to 5.59 grams total for the amount of gold I got out of Ken's rags and filters. Okay, I was going to end the video after we got that 2.36 grams of gold, but then I got to thinking, wait a minute. That's a fair amount of gold to get out of that material. Let me go and reprocess it. Plus, I threw in all the sludge that had settled to the bottom of my 2.5 gallon bucket that I decanted all of the acid liquid off into it. And there was a fair amount of sludge in there after sitting for a couple of days. So I reprocessed all the old stuff plus the sludge. And look, got some more gold. Okay. And this is the last. This is it. This is finally it. There's nothing else. So let's see what we've got here. Another 3/4 of a gram, it looks like. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking that sludge down there looked like it needed to be processed. I think I probably got most everything out of the other material, but didn't hurt to run it through one more time. Oh yeah, 0.76 of a gram. So what's that give us total? So it looks like, if my math is correct, 6.35 grams of gold that we got total from Ken's filters and rags. That is more like what I was expecting to get. I was very disappointed up till now, but I learned a valuable lesson. The gold will plate out on any kind of scrap metal that's mixed in with the ashed material, and that's exactly what happened here. All the gold cemented out on the scrap metal in the ashed material. Not only the bits of my pot, my stainless steel pot that were left in it, but also when I got those rags from Ken, there was all kinds of scrap metal mixed in with them. And yeah, so once I rehydrated that ashed stuff, the copper cemented out on it, but also a lot of the gold cemented out. Probably, I would say, looks like a little over half the gold cemented out on that scrap metal in that ashed material. So, okay. Yeah, I learned a valuable lesson, and you guys can learn from this too. If you're ashing stuff for processing, make sure that there's no metal in it when you rehydrate it. Otherwise, this could happen. Your metals will cement out, and you'll wind up with a lot lower yield than you think. You might even accidentally throw away gold in your waste. But in the end, we got it. Ken, there will be a little something coming to you, okay? You'll probably have it long before this video comes out, because this is a long video, and I've got a lot of editing to do before it comes out, so you'll probably get your little something before this video comes out. But we found the gold, buddy. I think 6.35 grams is pretty respectable result for the amount of material I ran. And if there's any more gold hiding here, I can't find it. Alright, well, thanks a lot for watching this long series of videos, and this long video in particular. And if you found all this interesting, educational, informative, whatever, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to see my future videos. And check out my second channel, Electric Geek 64. There's good stuff going on over there if you're at all interested in electronics or retro computing. I will see you in the next video. Thanks a lot for watching this one. Bye.